Immigration law in Arizona brought out thousands of protesters today. Arizona Governor Jan Brewer signed that bill on Friday that allows police officers to ask people about their immigration status if the officer suspects they are in this country illegally. If the person cannot prove citizenship, then they are arrested. Opponents say the law promotes racial profiling. Supporters say police will not be allowed to pull someone over just based on skin color.
This bill does not allow any police officer to contact somebody just because they look Hispanic. This bill doesn't require people to carry identification. These are all misconceptions, either through sloppy research or through purposeful distortion.
Make no mistake about it. This is not a fight between minorities. This is a fight for justice and fairness for everyone.
Now, the mayor of Phoenix has filed a lawsuit against the law, saying it is the federal government's job to fight illegal immigration. But barring any legal challenges, the new law takes effect in July. A new Rasmussen Report telephone survey finds that the majority of Americans support Arizona's immigration law. 60% of voters favor the law, while 31% oppose it. At the same time, though, 58% of voters are concerned that efforts to identify and deport illegal immigrants will end up violating the civil rights of some Americans. Joining us now, two men on opposite sides of this issue here in Georgia. D.A. King, the president of the Dustin Inman Society, and Jerry Gonzalez, the executive director of GALEO, the Georgia Association of Latino Elected Officials. I appreciate you both taking the time to be with us tonight.
Thank you, Russ. Pleasure to be here.
Let's begin with you, Mr. Gonzalez. What is your primary objection to this new law in Arizona?
Well, fundamentally, we cannot pass something that is unconstitutional to try to enforce the law. It makes a mockery of the rule of law. What we really need is to have a workable policy at the federal level, and that's why we're urging for comprehensive immigration reform to make a commonsensical approach to reforming our immigration laws. Everybody knows that it's broken. We need something that's workable, that'll move us forward as a nation, and will keep families together. That's something simple that the Congress should be able to get done, and Arizona is reacting because the federal government has not accomplished that.
I think we can all agree on that much. D.A. King, you're the president of the Dustin Inman Society. There's a website, Dustin Inman, a 16-year-old who was killed in a car crash back in 2000 on Father's Day weekend by someone who was in this country illegally. What is your take on this law in Arizona?
Well, Russ, before anybody gets hysterical about the new Arizona law, it is simply aimed at enforcing what is already in federal law. It's not like the people in Arizona have reinvented the wheel. I would like to take the opportunity to say that Senator Russell Pierce, who wrote the law, is a very dear and respected friend of mine. Arizona is suffering nearly as much illegal immigration as is the state of Georgia. We have more illegal aliens here than they do in Arizona. It's merely a law saying that we are going to begin to enforce the laws that are already on the books.
Well, let me ask you this. 58%, according to the poll we just referred to from Rasmussen, who even support this have concerns about civil liberties abuses. Do you think that there will, just by nature of the enforcement of this law, be some racial profiling and some civil rights?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, Latino and Hispanic does not define a race. It's an ethnicity. The governor of Arizona has made it brilliantly clear that they are setting up guidelines to try and protect everybody's civil rights. On the other side, American citizens' civil rights are being violated each and every day because the federal government has refused its fundamental duty of securing the border. States have not just the right, but I think the duty to take care of their citizens and protect them from the ravages of the organized crime that is illegal immigration.
But saying that, fundamentally, if we're abiding by the U.S. Constitution, states are required to ensure that there's a separation of federal powers and state powers. States do not have the power to enact their own immigration policies. Fundamentally, we cannot have, as a nation, 50 different immigration policies in this country. So if we want to respect the U.S. Constitution, if we want to respect the rule of law, this is fundamentally unconstitutional because it violates due process. It sets up the discriminatory process for Latinos and other people that look foreign in the state of Arizona, and that's fundamentally unjust. And an unjust law is no law at all.
Let's take a look at a graphic that shows how the people of Arizona feel about this. 70% support it in Arizona, 23% oppose it because of what you both have said, which is that the federal government is not doing the job the way it should. I read in a Reuters article this afternoon, 460,000 undocumented immigrants living in Arizona right now. Would you not concede that that's a problem and that those people have broken the law, and somehow that needs to be enforced.
Fundamentally, they've broken a law that's unworkable, that's untenable right now.
Is that an excuse?
No, it's not an excuse. It's because Congress has not acted on this issue for over 20 years.
Right.
What we need to do is to demand our elected officials to truly produce a workable solution that moves us forward. We need to make sure that we protect families in the process and also protect due process. What the
Now, when
Arizona...
you say protect families, you mean not divide families?
Not divide
where
families.
some
So families that are already here, we need to make sure that we keep families together. And
Ross,
we need to address
do you agree on
undocumented
that?
immigrants that are in this country.
No, people like Jerry who make their living from illegal immigration and whose goal is open borders will never regard existing federal immigration law as being fair if it doesn't involve open borders. Jerry
That's
brought
not
up
true.
that 20
That's a
years ago we
distortion.
had
That's a
Let us finish
distortion
for a
of our
second, then I'll let
position.
you
If I may, Jerry, Ronald Reagan signed a one-time legalization program in 1986 that was supposed to solve our illegal immigration problem forever. We now have, according to Jerry's boss, someplace between 12 and 20 million illegal aliens in this country. Legalization is not the answer.
It's not realistic to send them back, though, right?
It's not realistic. And
They
it's not,
return
it's,
on their own.
If we go about the enforcement-only provisions, we've deported 300,000 undocumented immigrants last year under the first term of President
We need to
Obama.
deport 300,000 this year.
How long will it take us to deport 10 to 12 million undocumented immigrants? That's assuming there's no more entry. Obviously, his proposal of enforcement only doesn't work, so that's why we need
the last thing
comprehensive
he wants is the
immigration
law to
reform.
be enforced.
All right. Now, we are almost out of time. So very briefly, I want you to both tell me whether you think there's the possibility we may face a push for a law like this in Georgia. Do you think that that is a potential here?
Well, I think there is a potential, but it'd be a fool's errand. Ultimately, this law is unconstitutional. The state of Arizona is going to be sacked with several lawsuits, and the state cannot afford it, fundamentally.
DK, your take on that?
We need to secure the borders, enforce the laws. In Georgia, I look for someone to introduce a law very similar to this. I hope we have better luck in getting it enforced than the present laws we have here. Our Georgia laws are being ignored. It cracks me up when people who support illegal immigration or defend another amnesty bring up the constitutionality of something. Let's let the courts decide.
It should be noted that also
constitutionality of
Mr. D.A. King is a convicted felon and runs a hate group, and that's people. Your
Let
viewers should know that
Let me
as well.
stop you right there. I'm really sorry that came up and that we don't have time to address it. But
I plan on addressing it at another time.
Well, he is a convicted felon. That's a fact.
well, fair enough.
Yes.
I appreciate you both being here. I'm sorry it ended on that note, which really doesn't have anything to do with anything at the moment.